Oh, it's the Shills PubChat, innit? Oh, wait, sorry, wrong show. Hey, everyone. It's the Shills PubChat, the North America edition.
Oh, fuck me, man.
I
Brilliant.
hope everyone's keeping well, and we're here to shoot the shit as usual. So let's go around the table and see who's here. Gary, sounds like you didn't quite get up yet. Are you there with us? No, not yet. Tatty, the Mad Scotsman, how are you today, sir?
Listen to me, listen, I thought I was going home, man. I just fucking woke up to find these fucking maddies in the bar, man. What's going on? Oh, no, man, I'm having fun. Just been having an absolute blast since the last pub chat that we done. If you've not seen it, go fucking check it out. It was great fun. And I see Slim in the chat. Slim Living Cyborg was on with us. And yeah, man, he's some dude. Some fucking dude.
He got some new installs today. I think I saw him talking about that.
Yeah, he talked about a whole load of stuff, man. It was like fascinating. Some of it, even I was slightly disturbed at some of it, man. I have to admit. One bit in particular, I'm not going to revisit again for at least till tomorrow, because
let's see who else we have here. In the producer's chair, Booleanenator, God himself. How are you today, sir?
Hello, Kevin. I am good today. I got over quite the migraine yesterday, so that was fun, but now I'm fine, so I'm looking forward to this. Because there was some really good chat beforehand, so hopefully we continue.
That's good to hear, man. I've had one migraine in my entire life, and my God, it was hell. Like it's so hard to describe, you know. Like I'm sure if you get migraines regularly, Boole, I'm sure you've had to describe it to people as like a headache, but a lot worse. That doesn't do it any justice at all.
No, it really doesn't. It's one of the. Imagine your head being squeezed down into a pit of white fire. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And let's see, who else do we have? Keeping an eye on the chat as usual, we have the tag team of Aimee and Matt. How are you guys today?
We are doing great, thank you. I'm all excited about tonight's show. This is going to be a good one. Matt's floating around here too, and he's ready for super chats, huh? And who starts school next week?
Me.
Yeah, so he's starting school next week. Plus, we've got some
Right
great
on.
shows that are coming up, and we're all excited, aren't we?
Excellent. Good to have you guys with us. And our guest tonight, JL Warren. How are you today, sir?
I am good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Oh, you're very welcome. Always good to have. Have you been on the show before? I'm trying to remember.
Not this particular one. Not PubChat. I've been on another one. There's so many.
There is. There really is.
But I have done a little bit of work before, but not on PubChat.
Well, it's good to have you. Absolutely. And let's see. Last on the list, Gary IOW. Are you back yet, sir?
I am indeed. Good evening, all.
How's everything in the world?
No, it's good. Everything's good here. Thank you.
Excellent. Good to hear. Anything you want to show out or anything at all?
Not at the moment, really. My YouTube channel's pretty shit, to be honest. But talking stuff, cooking stuff. But yeah, so no, not really.
Well, fair enough. Well, in that case, what do you think, guys? What's the big stupid of the week?
Oh Lord, I honestly have to say, after the debate I had on the plot hole and the video I did with the collab video I did with Irish Demon with Daniel Pratt, the theist stupidity is running wild, because I think the flat earthers are starting to drop flat Earth and are starting to move into religion, and that's both good and bad. So
yeah, that's not surprising, because they always had kind of a foothold in religion anyway. A lot of them anyway.
Yeah.
But that makes sense that they gravitate towards creationism more, because although it's damn near as faulty as the flat Earth, it's somehow managed to stick around.
Yes, very true, very true. And thankfully, I was never, natural sciences was never my big forte. I really love science, and I kind of adhere my life to that process. But it wasn't really, a part of it. But theism, being an atheist, that is a big part of who I am. And now they're kind of coming over to my territory. I'm looking forward to doing more videos and more dumpster fire arguments with these idiots.
Yeah.
Ding.
That's got to be frustrating too. Then, like, because if you deal with theism and atheism regularly, I'm sure you know well enough. There's some perfectly good, intelligent Christians out there, and now their religion's kind of being hijacked.
Yes,
yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine flat earthers are any better at religion than they were at the shape of the earth.
Right.
Oh no, they cherry pick the Bible just as much as they cherry pick pretty much anything in science.
Well, thankfully that's pretty easy to do with the Bible, so they got lots of material.
Unfortunately, yes.
No, it does seem like the flat earthers are starting to fall off. I'm not sure what it is. It's just there's nothing new, and like we've reached a point where we can pretty much corner them anytime, and I think they're just finding they're lacking now in ways to wiggle their way out of it.
Oh yeah, I think given if you look at I'm going to say the quality of the content's gone down, but the quality of the interlocutors and the quality of the subjects being targeted is declining, and so now it's just like screaming idiots like hip hop hippie and other jackasses like him. And when the quality, I think the quality of that is dropping because the big wigs don't want to come out of their hidey holes because they're so terrified, and so all that's left is for the screaming morons to come out. And I think at this point, my question is, I've always considered, is at this time, does the debunking community back off slowly and start transitioning, just like Flat Earth is transitioning, to move somewhere else, or is this the time to hammer them even harder?
We hammer them harder.
I mean, I'm down for it. I'll say that.
Yeah, because we don't want to give them any wiggle room and don't want them creeping back. So at this point, it's just like really, really smash them in the teeth and make sure they're gone. Like cockroaches, you got to get every one of them.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Gary. Say that again.
I was going to say they just trot out the same old bullshit time and time again. Stuff that's been debunked 3, 4, 5 years ago. But they keep coming back.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they're trying to find something that somebody forgot was debunked, not realizing we can debunk anything because.
But we have all the records. It's all been done.
Yes, it's all been done.
But yeah, it's nothing new. Like the most interesting thing I've come up with recently was responding to Witsit Gets Its video. He called it "The Earth is Still Flat," and the only thing I could think to do was go, okay, well, I'm going to make a video about how the Earth was never flat. You can't say it still is. You haven't ascertained that.
But I really dig it because I've always been a spectator when it came to everybody, when it came to like Fight the Flat Earth and Team Skeptic and Simon Dan and MC Toon and all the magnificent work that all of them are doing. Everybody, including Boole, I don't give you enough credit. Because I don't think I'm around you enough, but the stuff that you do behind the scenes, everybody working together, but now they're kind of moving over into a territory that I've been following. I've been part of the atheist community for a good long time, and just putting together my notes and putting together reams of information, just because I want to be able to have that conversation with people. And now I get the opportunity to really to stick to some really bad ones, like my Daniel Pratt collab. One of my collab with Irish against Daniel Pratt, that was hilarious. How bad his interpretation of the Bibles was. How bad his interpretation of the mythical figure of Jesus Christ, and it was just insane. But there are people out there listening to that shit, and we've got to be able to. And I'm kind of hoping we get to the point where I can work with theists who are not so fundamentalist and don't have and are more objective about the Bible. And be able to create bridges there so that we can fight against the real extremes, the fundamentalist psychopaths that are just like the Nathan Thompsons of this world and shit.
Right. Yeah. I think I need to check out your video on Pratt, because Pratt trying to interpret religion, like he's such an angry little man. And
he is.
I imagine that coming through in his interpretation a lot.
Oh, he's so fucking creepy. Because I'm kind of proud of that video, and Irish Demon did a magnificent job editing it. The editing makes it hilarious as shit. But I was so proud of that video because he opened himself right. It was just ripe for attack, and I tried to set my wife down and say, "Hey, look at this video. It was so great. I think I did really, really well." And my wife got like 30 seconds into it, and he creeped her out so much she couldn't finish it. Just that fucking just that wall-eyed look he gets, and just staring off into space in the creepy serial killer basement. And my wife is like, "No, I don't want any more of this person on my screen."
And that horrible picture of him with his abs out.
I do have to say, his whole setup does look like, it looks like something you would see on Live Leak, where someone confesses to a crime and then does something horrible.
Oh god. But yeah, he's an absolutely abominable human being, and given the seriously slanderous attacks he's levied at Fight and Team and Simon Dan and others in the community, I was kind of like, you know what? I know these guys don't care, and maybe I'm a bit more kind of like, hey, motherfucker, you're not going to talk about my friends that way. So them's fighting words. So I'm going to go out there and just make him look like a complete and total tool if he thinks he's going to get away with this shit. So.
Yeah, I thought when Cats took him apart on that debate, that was absolutely
yes.
And he still spouts the same shit. Even though he was completely and totally destroyed, he still spouts the same fucking shit.
Oh, I bet he thinks his barbecue experiment was the most brilliant thing ever.
I expect he does, yeah.
Ash Scott said, "Those aren't abs, that's starvation rash."
Yeah.
Nice one, Ash.
Ash Scott always has the good zingers. So
this is that quiet moment at the bar.
So Daniel Pratt is still stupid. Here's an interesting subject. Has anyone seen the issue that Radical the Unhallowed Knight's been having with the monetization of one of his videos?
I heard something, but I've been so busy with my podcast, I didn't get all the details. So yeah, definitely fill me in.
Well, he's had a few issues of like things that I've never heard happening to anybody else, like buffering during a premiere. Like there's nothing you can even do to stop that. It's just a premiere. It just plays. So that was really frustrating. But then one of his videos got flagged for like violence or something, and so he requested a review, and supposedly a human reviewed it and said that there was violent video game gameplay in the video. There was no video game gameplay in the video. And I don't understand what YouTube's doing. Like, they can't actually say, they can say that a human looked at your video, but they cannot say that a human watched your video if that's what they're doing.
That's weird.
Sounding like Scooby-Doo.
That goes hand in hand. There seems to be a lot of crazy shit going on, because like every 2 or 3 days I've had to reset all of my subs. I've had to unsubscribe, subscribe, and then turn bell notifications back on. And I'm having to consistently do it with every channel that I'm subscribed to, and I can't tell you what a pain in the ass that is.
Yeah.
And then all this shit that went down with Irish Demon when his whole channel was just demonetized for no reason. Did they completely shut him down? Boom.
Wow. Really?
Oh yeah, that's happened more than like any of us know, because it happens dozens of times in every one of the thousands of communities that exist on YouTube, right? And
yeah,
I don't understand what their human review process is. Like, because I could maybe see like you know, you've got a quota to fill, you have to review all these videos today, so you watch them at 3 times speed and maybe you don't see the details, or like you just click through different points of it and look at still screens and go, good enough. But whatever it is, you're clearly not actually watching the whole video, like straight through.
Well, I mean, look what happened to Thunderfoot. I mean,
oh yeah,
like that's ridiculous. He's sitting there debunking the anti-maskers, basically, and they give him shit for handing out bad information. And the video that he debunked was still up. Like the anti-mask video itself was still up, and it's like, what the fuck, YouTube?
You know, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here. I really don't, and it sounds so much like a conspiracy. But in the past, you know, because I know everybody's well aware of the trouble that Thunderfoot ran into during Gamergate, and comments made about Anita Sarkeesian and like that. And I think when that shit went down, it was almost like black marks on him. So I actually think the trouble that he has now is actually residual from the shit that went on then.
I could see that. I could totally see that, because I am actually, you know, I do stuff for Pimp Monk, and Pimp Monk has problems all the time, and he wasn't even like one of the big players in Gamergate. He was just kind of ancillary, and he's friends with some of the people who were the big players, and like Jeff Holiday, etc. And they just, you know, they all continue to have similar problems. So it's kind of spooky that would be the case, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, it doesn't even seem conspiratorial to talk about, because we all see it. We all see this shit happening. We just we don't really comprehend the why behind a lot of it.
Yeah, there's got to be information we're not aware of. There's something going on. It could be something completely technical. Somebody did something, but the pattern is there, and it's enough to make you go, huh?
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of why utilities like phone companies and things like that had to be regulated over time, because you'd find weird scenarios where someone's phone was cut off because someone at the phone company didn't like them.
That's fucked up.
And so they had to be regulated to a point where you can only legally cut off someone's phone line if they don't pay for it, or, you know, some other extreme circumstance. And it makes me wonder, are we seeing a similar thing happen to certain media networks, social media networks?
Well, but there's going to be a problem if they try to regulate social media, because it's not the same thing as your internet being cut off. Right. So, like, I mean, it might as well be, because the utility of the internet at this point has become, by and large, social media. That's like the biggest thing on the internet right now. Not that there's not other stuff still happening. It's just, you know, you don't need social media, but one could argue that you do, because, like, if you look at Facebook, for instance, Facebook Messenger is almost a staple as a replacement for the actual telephone. Same thing goes for, you know, anything like Meets and Skype, etc. They are all technically replacements. YouTube's different though, because it's more like cable TV in that respect, where you're not entitled to any channel you don't pay for example, on cable TV.
Right.
So, and that might, if they try to regulate, it may come to something like that, where you have to be getting paid to be considered a worthy channel, which is going to cause a big problem for a lot of creators.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I will add, I'm absolutely not saying I know what the answers to any of these issues are. I'm just postulating.
Yeah.
Allow me to postulate an answer.
I will say this, you know, because I just found out today, and I have to give a big apology out there to the rest of the planet. My, you know, at the state, here in the States, so many people, it's just so fucking stupid. We recently, I work in maintenance. I work for an apartment complex, and we recently lost a resident to COVID-19. We just found out about it today, and it blew my mind that this is. It was kind of like it kind of hit home a little bit more because I know people in other states, or I've had people in other states, so far away that have I've lost to COVID, but it just happened today in my own apartment complex where I work daily, going in and out of people's places, and that freaked me out. It kind of put a new light. I haven't been that close to it before, and it just goes to show that I want to give my apology out to the world that sadly here in America we are not doing our part, and we're a bunch of we're apparently a bunch of idiots who don't know how to socially distance correctly. So that just kind of blew my mind today.
Yeah, I mentioned that like there was a point where I didn't really know anyone who had been affected by it, but eventually I started. I didn't meet anyone new. It's just people in my life started to be personally affected by it, and that gave me a different kind of perspective on it all. And it just really makes you angry at the anti-mask videos that going around right now.
That's what got me. It kind of hit me in a way, and that's been weighing on me all day long. Now I didn't know this girl. Sadly, she was in her late 20s, and I didn't know her personally. I'd seen her around the complex. I'd done a few work orders for her, but it's not like I knew. It's like I was her friend. And I think the closest before this, my wife's parents both came down with it. And luckily, they made it through. Her parents are hardcore, and they managed to make it through. They're okay now. But they were down for like 2 weeks, completely bedridden. And then all of a sudden turn around. We had another person a few months ago. Say again? What was that, Gary?
That might have been...
No, I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
okay.
Sometimes if our voices are extra loud, it's coming through on Gary's end a little bit.
But yeah, so and we did have one resident who came down with it and wound up in a coma, but he recently came out of it. He's on the road to recovery. But now we've lost someone, so that's like 2 major hits. And I myself, just being in maintenance, I've been exposed 3 times myself just from people being ridiculous. And I've been sent home. I've been had to quarantine for 2 weeks, waiting for my test to get back. And now all of a sudden, within 500 feet of where my desk sits, now somebody has died because of it. And it's fucking insane. It's like, I don't know why we don't understand unless it's right in front of our face. It boggles my mind. Then, of course, these anti-mask videos that thankfully people are attacking just aggs the absolute fucking shit out of me and just makes me want to punch someone in the face. And I almost did. I was at the 7-Eleven and I was going in there to get a Monster for the morning and strolled some dude with a look on his face. Everyone else is wearing a mask. 15 people in the store. Everyone's wearing a mask. Everyone's staying away. He strolls in, no mask, doesn't give a damn, standing right next to people, and I'm like, what the absolute shit, dude? And
thankfully there isn't very much of that in Canada, but I have had one encounter with a lady who walked into the store behind me in line, and the guy asked her to put on a mask, and she said, "Oh, I can't. I have anxiety." And the cashier just kind of said, "Okay." And I just kind of turned around and looked at her, and it said, "You can take a couple steps back, thanks."
You have anxiety, and that's an excuse? Like, no. Come on, people. That's not an excuse.
I have anxiety. It's not stopping me from wearing a mask.
Right.
We both have anxiety. Matthew wears a mask. That's all I have to say. And if I can get him to wear one and he puts it on, no questions asked, just puts it on and out we go, then they can definitely wear a mask.
Anyone can. There's maybe 1 or 2 conditions I can think of where it would get in the way, and anxiety isn't one of them. It really isn't. It's not an excuse. If you're that anxious that you can't wear a mask, what the hell are you doing in public in the first place? Like, you would have, your anxiety would be so bad that you wouldn't be able to go out in public in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't like wearing a mask. I wear it because it's the done thing to do.
Well, what gets me is that some of these people are using the fact that others are not wearing a mask as an excuse to not wear a mask. And I don't understand that either, because that's literally the opposite of what you should be thinking when you see somebody without a mask. When I see somebody without a mask, it's like, dude, put that on, because I don't want what you got. I really don't, whether it is COVID or not. If, I don't want it.
I would 110% agree. But I was surprised, and I have to say, I completely agree with Jill Warren. I'm kind of triggered when I see a anti-mask video as well. And on a completely unrelated note, when's the next time you're on the Shills? No particular reason for asking. Just
When's the next time I'm going to be on the Shills?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll be on whenever you like, man. I'm a whore for attention.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we might just have to have a wee search and see what we can find for you.
I know what he's doing.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. I'm looking at the friggin' the captioning, and the very first time, because I always say horror because I have I have my podcast Week in Horror. And the very first time I don't say it, but it always messes up and says I say horror or I say like something weird. And the very first time I don't say horror, it comes up as horror.
Listen, if you're going to get into the captions, man, then feel my fucking pain.
Oh yeah, but I'm starved for attention, so I'm happy to come out here and make a clown of myself.
Tattie's acquired quite the talent for triggering people. With the shit he brings on the
show. I don't know what you mean, Mr. Kennedy.
Well, he's got something to do when he's not warning people to stay off the moors.
Listen, they're my bloody grouse, right?
I don't know why, but as soon as you said moors, all I can think of is the that stupid scene in The Simpsons where groundskeeper Willie gets accused of a crime. I told you, my memory's fuzzy. Fuzzy like Willie's beard? No, I mean like my memory is hazy. Hazy like the moors of Scotland?
Like the borders of Scotland?
Fantastic.
But in regards to anti-mask stuff, this keeps becoming a thought in my mind, because you always see the anti-mask videos where someone says, those things are bad for you. They have some variation on masks are bad for you, right? Are all of those people, do they think masks were invented in 2019? Like, are they unaware that outside of their bubble, they're very commonplace? That there's a number of jobs where prior to COVID, you had to wear them all fucking day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the job I do, when this whole thing hit, I had like 2 boxes of N95 sitting in the back of my car because I work with drywall and I work with compound, and you can't breathe that dust, with mixed compound. And I work with that shit all day long. So, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I've got some masks. Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah. I used to work in a paint shop. You wear a mask all day.
There you go.
Well, all you have to do is watch the TV show MASH, and you'll understand it. Masks have been around a while.
I'm thinking they were a big hit in 1918.
Yeah, when
I'm thinking that there was an event. There was something I think that they were really, really big.
Yeah, it's like some other coronavirus that hit back then.
I was gonna make a joke and say it was like some big concert like Woodstock. No, all right. Good thing I didn't.
Okay, that's fucking love you, mate.
Speaking of Woodstock, 50th anniversary this weekend of the Afton 1970 Pop Festival in the Isle of Wight. 750,000 people. 50 years ago this week. Fantastic.
Legendary fucking concert, man. Legendary concert.
I was there. I was nearly 5. and I went there with my parents. And yeah, it was amazing.
You lucky
In the
bastard.
nicest possible way, you're a bastard.
You're a
Up
lucky
to the side.
bastard.
That all right? You know what? Graham Price just said something that hits my heart way too hard. He said the thing I dislike most about the masks is that I can't smile at dogs.
Aww.
I know exactly how he feels because that's like my instinct. If someone with a dog comes near me, my instinct is to just like smile at the dog and give this like I don't care if your dog comes up and sniffs me kind of air to myself. But
Yep.
no, I can't.
Slim Living Cyborg is, he has a point. You know who wish they had masks? Miners in the 1800s. Yeah, curse that black lung.
I don't see the problem with wearing a mask. I mean, the last time I robbed a bank, then it was fine.
Tatty, I'm very curious. When you're not killing the Kurgan, how are things where you're at? Are you facing the same level of stupidity we are?
Stupidity is universal. Thankfully, we, on the whole, to be fair, folks have actually fucking understood what's going on and have been sensible about it. And we've not had a lot of stupidity. We had one breakout in Aberdeen, a peak in the city of Aberdeen after the lockdown was eased a wee bit, and they all went out and get pushed in the pubs, as did everywhere else in Scotland, but they couldn't keep separated. And don't know if maybe offshore workers coming back from the oil rigs had something to do with it as well. All these different factors coming in, but they got a spike again, so they were put back under lockdown, which they've just come out of again. But other than that, no, we're just kind of we're massing public transport in shops and sort of like confined spaces, and yeah, go on with it really.
Oh
Right.
shit! Party's over.
Look out! Here he is.
Thank you, Teddy. I appreciate that.
You're
Hey
muted.
everybody,
Oh,
I'm
there he is.
sorry that I'm extremely fashionably late. I had a bit of a bad turn last night and pretty much passed out.
Oh, and what blended whiskey was it you were on?
It was actually a bee. I got stung right on my hand yesterday, and I didn't really take much notice of it. It hurt like hell, but yeah, after a few hours, I posted a video last night, and then I was sitting on the couch just chilling for about a half an hour, and I just started to feel really like woozy, and so I took some antihistamines, and you know how antihistamines work. So I was just gone. I was dead to the world, and I woke up to messages from a few people. And so I didn't know you guys would still be on. I was like, oh shit. So I checked on YouTube to see if it was uploaded and just to watch it or whatever. And then I realized it was still live. So I was like, oh shit, I better jump right in. How is everybody?
You're good.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really good. I feel much better now. I still feel like kind of, I don't know, kind of a bit ropey, but all in all, not too bad.
That's what happens when you chase Benadryl with whiskey.
Yes, I did actually have whiskey with it, so that could be something to do with it.
I see nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing, nothing at all. It just goes against everything that you're recommended to do. But
No, when you really want to slow down.
when you want to slow down to the point where you could potentially die.
I'll breathe. I'll breathe tomorrow.
Yeah, I do enough of that. I should be fine.
That's the reason I'm not medically qualified.
I just noticed my face is up on the screen and it's enormous. How do I undo that? Oh, hold on. There we go. That's better.
Camera.
Nobody wants to see that. My even my face was all puffy, like my cheeks and chin were all puffed out. It was, oh man. Slim Living Cyborg. Shit. Sorry I missed you. We'll get you the next time. I'll have some people on my show soon once I kind of get it all sorted out properly, because it's been wild. It's been a wild few weeks. I moved back to my other studio because it's closer to the air conditioning.
So
what are we talking about?
I wanted to ask you, Irish, since as an esteemed member of the four Beardsmen, you collabed with me and it was fucking amazing. That was a blast. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure.
You're gonna work with you're gonna do something with Johnny and with Tony, with PhD Tony. I don't want to spoil anything, but who might you be going after, or what will you be talking about, if you can tell us?
Today is my kind of research day for that. I haven't 100% figured out what I want to do just yet. To be honest, my YouTube newsfeed and stuff is being packed with stuff from everything that's going on in the States right now. So I've been just kind of looking at all of that and haven't really gotten around to it. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna go and see who's got new videos out. I think for Johnny O, we might look at CC here, Chris. Because he's got a lot of material out there right now. CP is a walking just material manufacturer. He's awesome for that.
God, the dude is a goddamn bad cartoon.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's unbelievable. And I think I've actually got something coming up. I just saw Mippet69 come up in the chat. I've actually got something coming up with Mippet as well that I got to work on. But you guys know how I am on Discord. I'm so bad. I had to turn off notifications, because I just get hundreds of notifications constantly, and I was like, I've got to turn it off. So I have to remember to go back in and actually, check that everything is up to date. So if I do miss people, I'm sorry, but I'll try my best. I would say to people, if anybody does try to get in contact with me and I don't respond, just harass me, because I'll just forget to respond. So I won't be upset if people just annoy me.
Oh, boo-hoo, I'm so fucking popular.
Right? No, I don't mean it like that. I mean, no, that's not what I mean. Like, because you fucker. Because I have notifications. It's just a notifications thing, But yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, just contact my people, and my agent will convey the important messages to me. No. So yeah. So I don't know what
everyone fuck me.
With PhD Tony, I think we're going to do something with. We're going to talk about gravimeters. So that is we've actually talked about this for months and just never gotten around to it. So I am going to be looking at Mark Sargent's video where he debunks, in quotation marks, gravimeters, and I'm going to let Tony go ham on him.
Speaking of Tony, did anybody else catch that scientist versus scientist debate on Fight's channel?
No, I didn't get the notification, but I'm going to go back and watch it today.
Oh my god! It was...
Yeah, I caught the first bit of it, but it started at stupid o'clock in the morning over here, and I was working the next day, so I couldn't stay up for it all. But when I had a look at it the next day, when I woke up, I was like, "Oh, interesting."
Oh yeah, I see it here.
Yeah, the other guy the other guy's a legit. So I signed as well. He's not in Tony's field. I actually think he's a nutritionist. And he was presenting the climate denier stance based upon this argument, and Tony just pulled him apart.
So hold on a sec. So a nutritionist is arguing about climate change. I mean, look, I can
taste your incredulity.
Yeah, exactly. So like I studied law, so does that mean that I can talk about the climate? No, it doesn't. What are you on about, motherfucker?
No,
I didn't ask him how many.
nutritionist.
Yeah, I didn't ask him how many calories are in the earth. I asked him whether or not it's fucking heating up. God damn. I can't believe these people sometimes, man. It's just It's unbelievable, unfucking believable. Another video I'm going to be doing, just a follow up to a previous video, and I know a few people in the community have done videos about it. Just about this whole thing that's going on with Twitter at the moment. About all of the material that's on. I don't want to say it on the stream because I don't want to get demonetized or whatever.
The one I've been speaking about as well.
Yeah. We I think we commented on. We chatted in the comment section there or something a couple of weeks ago. I gotta say, right, I am horrified by that. I had no idea until you put that video out. Now I had heard murmurs, but I didn't really take it seriously. And then I saw your video and I was like, holy shit. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was gone that far. I knew there was always people on there offering to sell exploitation material, but never that it was actually readily available on Twitter. And so I'm going to be taking aim at that big time. I
wanted to actually shout to Kennedy. I saw that video. That was mind blowing. I had no idea. I did shoot. I don't know if it'll do any good, but I do have some friends in New York, who kind of friends who know friends who know friends, and I hope I'll try to start the train of getting that information to last week tonight.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that would be very excellent.
Yeah, just to kind of make the right people aware of it because they might not be. And I gave them pretty much gave them the rundown, everything you talked about, everything Red's talked about, and just kind of boiled it down and said, hey, if you guys are not aware of this, you may want to be, because their CEO is doing nothing, and it may be something there for you. So I don't know. I can't say anything might come of it. It might not. We probably won't hear anything, but I did try to kick the ball in that direction.
Like there's nothing. There's nothing on the news about. Oh, sorry, man.
I was just going to say that's all we can really do is get it to as many people as possible and hope that enough of a ruckus is kicked up that Twitter's kind of forced to speak up about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just looking on the news here, and there's nothing, very little on the news about it. This is one of those things in humanity that is one of the biggest abominations in humanity. I've sat through, I'm going to estimate probably 150 child exploitation court cases. So either direct physical abuse or exploitation material, and the damage that this does to lives is, I can't even begin to explain how many lives are ruined by it. And the reality is, while this stuff is available on Twitter, it creates a market for it. And the people who are engaging in it are, vulnerable people anyway. What they're doing is deplorable, but they're vulnerable and they're doing it for money or whatever the case may be. So allowing it to be on Twitter is allowing it to continue and more material to be produced. The fact that, on Twitter, if you share a belief or a political opinion that people don't agree with, so if you were to go on Twitter right now and say, "Oh, Trump is great," blah blah blah, there's a good chance that it'll get deleted or you'll get banned or whatever. Maybe not as benign as that, but they will take aim at people for political opinions or whatever the case may be. But literal child exploitation material, they won't even respond to it. They won't even talk about it. And I genuinely believe, and this isn't me being dramatic because I've had time to think about it, Twitter should be stopped and shut down until they deal with this issue, because no amount of money that they're earning is worth the lives of those children which are destroyed. So I don't care if they make $1 billion a day, shut them down until they deal with it. If you had a bookstore and there was books in there with that kind of stuff in there, you're damn straight they'll shut you down straight away. They don't care about how much money you're making. And that should be the same. I think they should absolutely be shut down until they get a handle on it.
Yep, something that I was sitting there thinking about when watching that video, and who was the gentleman who took the time to contact the FBI and was who was that?
Was that Dan?
Was that Pauly?
I know
maybe.
I know he was on with the FBI for a long time. He was on with the Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going through that whole rigmarole and realized that this is absolute bullshit and what the hell is going on. The guy, and I was suddenly looking at it and looking at the history of the FBI, because they are who would investigate something like this to actually form a case. And given their history, especially with like, and I kind of compared it to, I went back and I looked at their investigation of the Silk Road and taking down that whole thing. And it took years for them to do that. But in that time, as they were building that case, obviously hundreds of thousands of illegal transactions and really, really horrible shit were going on while they were collecting evidence and putting things together and getting everything together. And it struck me. I don't want to give. Go ahead.
Can I just ask really quickly, because I just want to refresh my memory? Silk Road, that was a big online drug market, right?
It was pretty much an anything market. You could buy whatever you like. You could buy everything from cat pictures to leftover shit from the Cold War. Wow. That was coming out of like third world nations that had leftover Russian military stock.
So proper black market then.
Oh yes, legit online black market, and there was Silk Road and there was Silk Road 2. And I know taking down the Silk Road took them years to put together all of the information. And meanwhile, while they're sitting here just watching and waiting and building their cases, years go by and hundreds of thousands of transactions of really horrifying shit, child exploitation films, illegal weaponry, military grade stuff making into the hands of civilians. All this just goes by until they finally, drop the hammer and then they shut the Silk Road down, and they arrested hundreds of people involved with it. And so I was sitting there thinking, the way the FBI responded to, I think it's Dan who was making that call, it seems to me something this extreme, they would have to be aware. Something this big and this obvious, when you could literally, when Irish can go on there and be like, do, and he finds it. It's like, holy fuck. So they would someone in the FBI would have to be aware of this. It's quite possible. I'm not going to say this is what they're doing, because I'm not going to give the feds that much credit, but it is entirely possible that they are already aware, and they're in the process of building that case and connecting the spider web and trying to go for the big hitters that are overseas and working with Interpol and Europol and trying to basically create this massive dragnet where eventually they get the head honchos and then everything just collapses underneath it.
And I can see that, because I've had a number of people say to me, have you considered that some of these accounts you've uncovered are actually honeypots?
That's also possible. Yeah.
It could be, but here's the thing. I was looking at some comments about some of them, and so I used to follow quite closely and to some extent was involved with a group of, they call themselves pedo hunters, and so I was involved with a few of those guys, and they would just put accounts. They would go to notarealperson.com and wait until they got like a photo that looked like a child or whatever and lure people in. But the ones that have the actual exploitation material, I think that would be outside of the range of a honeypot, because then they're actively putting that forward. So yeah, that's a strange one.
Yeah, I'm thinking
past the that.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I would think
I
would think a honeypot would involve more like posing as a child to rope them into admitting that they're looking for children, and then like having like a sting operation on it, basically. But that's that's how I would perceive them setting up a honeypot operation. But it's possible they could do it the other way around. But I mean, what are you going to catch with that honey? That's the question.
Absolutely. One of the things that I was interested to find out was, where does it seem like all of this is coming from? And from speaking to a few friends who I can't say too much because I don't want to release any kind of information that I shouldn't. But I've got a very close friend who's a member of the AFP, which is the Australian Federal Police. He's in the investigations unit, and he deals with a lot of this stuff. And we actually met in court. That's how we came across each other. And so he was saying that with a lot of this material that it's coming out of the Middle East following wars. Basically, he said that any country that has descended into chaos as a result of war usually is the hot spots where they find this material, because there is no police, there is no law and order as such, so people are able to just get away with whatever. And that's terrifying. It's really sad that, you know, people are already going through hell of war and civil war and stuff like that, and now to add to it, they've got this extremely horrific thing coming out of those countries. A lot of this stuff, from what I've heard, has been young male Middle Eastern children. And, you know, a lot of them would be orphaned or due to war. For example, in Libya and Syria, a lot of them are orphaned as a result of war. One case, again, I can't really say too much about it. It was held in camera. But one case I was in, it was two boys that were refugees. They were both orphaned, and they had gone through all of that when they were in Syria. In Libya. And then they moved to Australia to get away from it. It's one of the most deplorable acts. It's one of the most disgusting and horrific things that somebody can do to another person, let alone a child. So to actively go out there and fight it, I think, you know, we can only do so much. But it does seem that every time I go on, there's a few pages that share the account names that you can copy and paste into a form to send to Twitter. And all of those ones I've come across, for the most part, have been shut down, which is fantastic. So, yeah. But I mean, here's the thing, right? Surely they have some kind of algorithm that can pick up that material. If I say fuck on one of my videos, it gets demonetized. They can pick up the word fuck. They can pick up, images that might be construed as offensive in the background of my video, but they can't pick up the child. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I offer a thought on that?
Yeah, for sure.
My thought on it is that it has to do with the fact that Twitter does allow adult content, like legal content.
Yeah,
and I think an algorithm might struggle to determine the age of participants.
That's a very good point. I'm
not sure, but it just that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Understanding.
So in essence, with the
like if I was
law enforcement. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if I was going to be writing an algorithm to deal with, you know, adult content, I would be looking for flesh tones of color, and that's like you're saying, it's hard to tell the difference between a flesh tone of any people. So,
absolutely. I mean, even a particularly smart algorithm. I think I used the example in my video. I put up two faces of two different Asian women, and had the audience guess what their ages were. They don't look too radically different. One's 46 and one's 16.
Yep.
So depending on genetics, upbringing, all kinds of different things, age shows differently for different people. So that's a really hard one to nail down, I think.
So given this, and I actually agree with Irish in, you know, going, you know, cutting the head off the snake until the problem is sorted. I agree with that. So as far as with law enforcement seemingly quiet or with their hands tied or whatever they're not saying, and the news not talking about it, knows what. So the best option for us, as you know, kind of like civilians in this respect, for the best option for us would be to go after the CEO and bombard him.
Absolutely.
Or the media.
I think much in the way that the U.S. Congress went after Facebook and what's his name?
Zuckerturd.
Oh yeah, Zuckerturd. And there was some serious issues there. I mean, yes, people's personal data is so important, and that's a massive issue. But as far as I'm concerned, child exploitation material is way worse by orders of magnitude. And I think if Jack Dorsey was pulled before the Senate or before Congress or before the FBI and was told, right, you need to sort this shit out, you're going to be held responsible. It's like the analogy I give is if you've got a pub, like we're all virtually in right now, and it's otherwise a law-abiding, great pub, you don't serve drunk people and blah, 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 and you do everything right. But every single night there's a group of guys in the corner selling illegal guns and drugs and, whatever. At some point, yes, they're the ones committing the crime, but you are responsible to not allow that in your platform, in your pub, on your website, whatever the case may be. So it gets to the point where you need to be held responsible for allowing it to take place, for facilitating it. And I think once Jack Dorsey is told, right, if you do not get this under control immediately, we are going to shut you down until you do. I guarantee you, once their bottom line is being threatened, they will then act. And that's all they care about is money.
I'm curious, and I don't expect everybody to possibly know the answer, but has anybody attempted, looking for particular House of Representatives or senators who are hardcore against stuff, and basically putting it in their lap? Because those individuals might be, if you find the right senator who is just like an absolute bear when it comes to this, and you will hammer it wherever he finds it, and you put it in that person's hands, that person might be able to trigger the kind of domino effect to get Jack Dorsey in front of an intelligence committee.
I'm going to be honest. There's one person I have tweeted at least once. I'm hoping at some point he'll see it. And this may sound really silly, but Chris Hansen. I want from Dateline NBC to see it.
That's such a good idea.
Because, I mean, the thing is, that guy did 2 different shows on with the premise of catching pedophiles. And that tells me that it's a subject he's actually passionate about. Yeah. So I would love to see if he would be able to pick that up and run with it a bit, what kind of attention he could get.
That's actually a really good idea. Would it be worth, I don't know, what's the Department of Child Protection in the United States called? Is it DCP?
There's difference in there's one in every state. So every state has a department, and I couldn't really say anything to the communication between them all, but every state has either a Department of Health and Human Services or Child Protective Services or something of that nature.
Yeah, because I know the member of Parliament in Australia is Rachel Sanderson, and she's very active. I'll contact her office and see if she can put it before the Australian government, because she's pretty good at this kind of stuff. So I'm definitely going to contact her and see what she's got to say. But I think, as good as Australia is for this kind of thing, I feel like maybe I think it's a US thing. I think because the Congress in the US, they seem to be able to really pull these guys, out front and center. And if Jack Dorsey, see, the general public don't know about this. The vast majority of Twitter users don't know about this. So if Jack Dorsey is pulled up in front of the Senate or Congress and everybody watches this and they're like, hold on a sec, there's child exploitation material all over Twitter. What the fuck? They're going to deal with it. They're going to ask questions once. At the moment, there's a small collection of people on Twitter that are aware of this. There's the people actively using the material or providing the material, and there's the people fighting against it. And there's very few in between. So I think once it becomes more mainstream and people know about it, then I think we'll be able to beat it.
Chris Durham brought up something. He's in the chat, said most of those senators would be Republican, and Twitter is Trump's paradise, so they wouldn't touch Twitter. But that actually gave me a
very
thought.
Good point.
That actually gave me an idea, because there is a process for forcing the White House to address something. And that is, if a particular question or a particular topic gets I think it's like 500,000, or maybe it's 250,000.
Oh, yeah.
It might be 250,000 signatures. It's automatically forced to basically, the White House will automatically address it. If it gets a particular number of signatures on it saying we want this addressed, and then the White House will, they're basically the White House will address it. If we did that, and even if the White House was skittish about actually going forward, maybe then that might just being out there and that many people being aware of it, trying to get the White House to address this topic might be enough. That might be another avenue.
That's interesting to me, because I try not to get political as much as I can. I'm not saying I'm a fan of Trump, but from what I've seen of the guy, it seems like he spoke pretty often about wanting to put a stop to like human trafficking and child exploitation. So if it's something he genuinely is passionate about, getting it into his hands might not be a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about the guy. The reality of it all, it doesn't matter if you agree with him or not. The reality is he is the leader of the United States. He's the leader of the free world. If he says something, people are going to listen, regardless of. But my problem there is what I've noticed with politics right now is love him or hate him. If you don't like Donald Trump, and I've noticed a lot of it, doesn't matter what he does, people will say, "Oh, he's wrong." And it's like, I'm worried that by putting this in his lap, that people who are anti-Trump will be, he's wrong. No, Trump can never be right. So this must be a lie or whatever. So that is my only worry about doing something like that. Because people hate him so much that they.
I think the only consolation there would be is because Twitter is so important to him, and he is so important to Twitter that if he did breach this, Jack Dorsey would be forced to act.
Right.
I agree. Without Trump at the moment, Twitter wouldn't be as big as it is. I think if he gets ousted in November, Twitter is going to tank to some extent, because a lot of people are only on there because of Trump-related news, be it good or bad, pro or anti. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see how that's going to go.
Yeah. Definitely. And that I can speak to what you're saying before of worrying about it being in his hands because people will just write it off because it is in his hands.
Well, and he would use it as a political ploy too. He might.
Oh, he would.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know that. I know that's going to happen because I brought up the subject and used some clips of Shoe on Head, who is a political centrist, and I had at least 2 people accuse me of far-right dog whistling akin to a Pizzagate conspiracist.
Oh, holy shit.
I've had that too. I'm politically speaking, I'm a left-leaning libertarian. That's my, when you look at the political compass, that's roughly where I'm at. And I've had situations where people have, called me a racist, called me a bootlicker just because of my job. I mean, I've spent 2.5 years serving my community, helping the most disadvantaged people in our community. My job is when people come into custody who are, drug dependent or who have serious mental health issues, my whole job is to sit there and break down the barrier and just be like, look, we don't hate you. We don't have any problem with you. While you're in our custody, my job is to get you what you need. And my job then is to put them in contact with, medical services if they've got drug dependency, or mental health services if they've got issues. And for people to sit there and call me a racist bootlicking cop, and I'm like, first of all, I'm not a cop. And even if I was, I wouldn't be ashamed of it. But for people to sit there and call me that, saying, "Oh, you're a Trump supporter." I'm an Irish guy who lives in Australia. I'm not a Trump supporter. I can't vote. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, come on. And I think one of the problems we're seeing in society right now is this. To quote, what's that guy's name? That centrist commentator. Oh, the guy that wears the beanies. Oh shit, what's his name? Tim Pool.
Oh, Tim Pool.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought you were talking about Ben Shapiro, and I was like,
No. I think Ben Shapiro is a different kettle of fish altogether. But Tim Pool, as he put it before, a lot of people are stuck on this orange man bad thing, and I get it. People don't like Trump. I don't like Trump. I think Trump is a bit of a joke. But what the problem is, because the hatred for Trump is so strong, it's affecting all of the things downstream of that. It doesn't matter what your political beliefs are, whether you love Trump or hate him. We can all agree that child exploitation material is bad. But if Trump comes out against it, you're going to get people, orange man bad.
I had a terrible thought, suddenly, this whole conversation. We take this whole subject, we put it into that missive that gets the White House's attention. All these people sign it. Trump looks at it. He addresses it. He calls out Twitter. Twitter corrects the situation. It results in a giant crackdown, and all of these predatory pedophiles are thrown in jail. And it looks like it's a giant win, and he gets reelected.
Yep. But here's the thing. Here's
That's
the thing.
just a
right?
scary thought. I'm sorry. It's just a
Well,
terrifying thought.
Let's look at it this way, right? Let's look at it this way. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, as I tend to do. Let's just take it one step at a time here. Let's say, we get Trump's attention, we show him something shiny, and then just be like, by the way, there's this issue on Twitter. And he takes it up, he runs with it, he thinks, oh, this could be great politically, Trump, the, pedophile destroyer, blah, blah, blah. And he uses that as a political ploy, fine. What is ultimately more important? Is Trump being in office more important than the protection of children? And that's a tough question for people to answer, because I understand people hate him, and I understand, that people don't like his policies. And I recently watched that show Immigration Nation, which shocked me to my very core that his policies resulted in such pain. But what is ultimately more important is the fact of him being reelected worse than child exploitation material?
Obviously, shutting down child exploitation
Exactly.
is more important. But not by much.
The huge pause is where the butt comes in.
Obviously, yes, it needs to be shut down, but at the expense of the next 4 years of this of my country. I don't. Oh God, how am I? How am I faced with this? How am I faced with this?
I might get shit on for saying this, right? And it's, I guess it's somewhat okay for me to say, because I'm not American. I don't, I'm not living there and dealing with it. I would trade that. I would make that trade. I would be happy for him to stay there for 4 years to fight against child exploitation material, purely because of how I feel about child exploitation material. But that's not to say that if Biden gets in, that he can't fight it.
Oh,
do you know what I'm saying? That's
that could be a legitimate win.
Like you go to Biden and you say, right, Joe, let's face it. Let's be reasonable here, reasonable adults, right? Joe Biden is not the most popular person in the world either. He has, in his time, I've never liked Biden. Never, ever. I liked Obama a lot. I thought he was cool. But I never liked Biden. But Biden, he's not the most popular man in the world right now. A lot of people are questioning his mental ability. They're questioning his personal situation and, some of the pretty racist stuff he said over the years. And if he was to go out there and say, all right, listen, fat, I'm going to fight against child abuse, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll vote for that. Absolutely. Now, I can't vote for it, but I would vote to protect children.
For a second there, I thought your Biden quote started with, listen, fat, and that was you addressing Trump as Biden?
No.
Okay, I'll have to admit, that town hall was actually pretty damn funny.
Oh, that was amazing. What was it called? You're a dog-faced pony soldier. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Well, there was one dude who was like, who got up, who legit, actually, he didn't get up in Biden's face. He mouthed off that Biden was like too old to do the job.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah,
whatever, like this. And Biden like strode up to this man. I think the dude is like 6'3", and just strode up and just got almost nose to nose with him. And he was like, "What? You want to do some push-ups, motherfucker?" I was like, "Holy shit!"
I think Biden is portrayed as this like Sleepy Joe hiding Biden or whatever, but I gotta say, man, like I've heard him speak a few times, and yes, he's old. I mean, he's I think he's got a speech impediment, doesn't he? That explains a lot of his speech issues. But I mean, goddamn, look at George W. Bush. I mean, the things he came out with. I'm like, Biden looks like a fucking like PhD Tony next to that guy.
Well, and let's look at the competition. Trump's not exactly a spring chicken, and he's not really full of wisdom either. Covfefe, word comes from Trump.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see Biden debating Trump. Those dumpster fires will be cosmic, and if Congress if Congress can find a law that allows Pence on the same stage as Kamala, those are going to be good too.
Oh yeah. What do you guys think of Kamala Harris? Because I
love her to death.
Really?
No, I love her to death because I don't know why so many people out there are discounting this. What Kamala got my attention during the Senate congressional hearings, because I'm watching all these old white guys and they're like, I don't really understand anything about the modern age. And what got me about Kamala is because Kamala was a district attorney, was a DA. She was a federal prosecutor before she was ever a senator. And so her background is in law enforcement and in dealing, directly with criminals, with like really bad people. And so when she was up there asking questions, I realized this wasn't a senator asking questions of these idiots. This is a legit interrogation. This motherfucker doesn't realize that they're in the goddamn hot seat talking to a legit law enforcement officer or a former law enforcement officer. And so I unfortunately, misspent youth, I've been in the hot seat across from detectives before. I know the tricks that they utilize, how they can weave a story to get you to open up, and then hang you with your own rope. And she does it so beautifully because she did it for years. And I cannot wait to see her do that across from Pence.
I agree, but I get a kind of a Hillary Clinton vibe from her. That kind of will do anything for power kind of vibe. I mean, her record isn't great. Some of the like the whole thing about putting people away for cannabis possession, right? I had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, she put away 1,500 people for cannabis possession." Okay, I'm a cannabis advocate, but you have to remember, regardless of your beliefs on cannabis, it was illegal at the time, and she was doing her job. So, but then for her to come out and laugh about it and say that she smoked weed too, it's just, I don't know. I get, and then the fact that she's running as VP for Biden, but not so long ago she was talking mad shit about Biden, and it's like, how do you trust somebody like that?
Well, that's unfortunately our process here in America. They are going to shit all over each other. While they're up there. But one thing I will say, and this goes to Biden, not just because I like Kamala. I like Kamala's. I mean, for lack of a better term, I like her balls. I really do. She's got the stones to stand up against particular individuals, and I like that. But I also I'm rooting for Biden. I will say my vote goes to Biden because Biden has stated numerous times that he will fall back and utilize his Democratic opponents when he was going for the candidacy. All of his opponents, he will utilize his resources, that he is willing to get on the phone with Bernie Sanders. He's willing to get on the phone with Andrew Yang, with Amy Klobuchar, with Cory Booker to basically get their take on the moves that he should make in the future. Now, unfortunately, if he wins, the next 4 years are going to be Biden and team cleaning up Trump's mess and fixing everything he's done. And that's literally a waste of 4 years, which sucks because we could make so much progress, but now we got to go and we got to fix everything he's done, both foreign policy, domestic policy, and our relationships with these countries, with Germany, with the UK, with Australia, with Canada, with Mexico. And we got a super hard line against Russia, against North Korea. It's insane. And I hate to see China. 4 years go down. I hate to see 4 years go down the goddamn tubes because we got to fix all the damage Trump did. Yeah, like Trump. As the years have gone by, I've been watching it since day one, and I remember when the whole thing, when he went for election and blah 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 blah. And I'm into like horse racing and stuff. I grew up in a horsey family, but so I do the odd couple of bets, no big deal. Nothing, no big money stuff. And I remember when it was all kicking off, I just moved to Australia. And in the betting, Trump was 50-1 to win the election at the time. And Clinton was pure favorite. I think, I can't remember who was in second place. So we were sat here and I said to Mrs. Demon as a joke, I was like, oh, let's put $10 on Trump. It'll be funny if he wins. And he won. And I was like, oh shit, I got $500 because Trump won the election. And then I realized, I think I'd happily give up that $500 after everything that happened. But
But here's the thing, and now I beg everybody in the chat not to take this as me taking a side or anything like that. I don't take sides. What I say is what I mean. I never, use a veil to disguise what I'm saying. If I was betting again right now, I would be putting my money on Donald Trump. I'm telling you guys.
Don't you put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby.
Don't you put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby. I am telling you guys, and I'm just being honest. I'm just being from what I'm looking at, from how I see it. I believe Donald Trump is going to get reelected because of everything that's going on right now. A lot of people are saying that his inaction in the riots, etc., is going to go against him. I'm sure it will to an extent, but the reality is a lot of people who are affected by the civil disorder at the moment, they are sitting in their homes thinking, oh no, is this going to come to my neighborhood? Who's going to stop it? They see inaction entirely from, or not entirely, that's not quite right, but to the higher extent, inaction from the Democratic side, whereas the Republicans are like, we're going to sort all this out, we're going to clean it up. And it's been proven time and time and time again, right back to the Roman era, people vote or choose law and order always. It happened in, the 1930s. We don't need to mention who. That's exactly what happened. He was one of the worst people in history, but he provided law and order, and that's what people wanted. And they didn't necessarily care what else was going to come along with that. And we all know how that transpired for the next decade thereafter. But the reality is we can't see into the future, and people do vote in the here and now. People don't think, oh, if I vote Biden, maybe in 2 years' time, things will be better. And no, people think about the here and now. And that's worrying. I'm not going to put money on him this time, but I have been watching the betting. The media polls are pointless. There's no point even looking at them because of the range of individuals that are actually questioned. You need to look at the betting. If you want to know who's going to win an election, check the betting, because the betting doesn't lie.
I wanted to say a couple things. First off, I will agree that polls are useless because let's remember that every poll in 2016 said Trump will never win.
Exactly.
And here's the thing. I want to put two kind of facts side by side. Take a look at the things that have been happening in places like Portland, and see how Kenosha, and see how very similar they are to a legitimate war, and then consider the second fact that a president running for re-election during wartime almost always wins.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Maybe exclusively. I'm not sure about that.
I did hear it recently, but I can't actually remember it. There might have been. I'm just trying to think. No, I think you're right. I think it is exclusively. Here's the thing, right? If you are, just a regular Joe, you sat in your home. Like I read a very interesting article today written by a guy who works in a tractor factory in Kenosha. And he said, I am not political. I go to work. I come home. I have a few beers, have a pizza, watch TV, and go to bed. That's all I care about. He voted for Obama in the last Obama term. He didn't vote in 2016. So he's genuinely not invested in it. And he was asked by this reporter, well, who would you choose now, given what's going on? He said, Donald Trump. He said, I don't support him. That's why I didn't vote the last time around, because I didn't like either him or Clinton. And he said, this time I would vote for Trump because he's the only one saying, I'm going to stop this from happening. And that's the reality. I mean, we can argue about whether or not Trump is good or bad, but he is actively going out there saying, right, to the governors in Democratic states, I will send you feds to deal with these issues, whatever you need, just tell me. And they're not doing it. And they're allowing these things to continue. And that's scary. I mean, it's one thing. Protest is one thing. I've protested tons of times. I strongly support protests. But when I sat there and I saw a video of a 75-year-old man who spent 50 years building up his home and his business, and it was burnt to the ground for no reason, that scares me. I saw my parents build up their lives. And if somebody came and tried to burn that down, I can only imagine how people feel, I mean, there was one video of an old man, and they were burning down his restaurant. and he was there with. I was actually almost crying because if you leave politics out of it, which I think we need to do sometimes, and just look at the situation. This old man works his balls off, barely covers his wages, barely covers his costs, and people just come along angry and they burn down his business. And he was standing there with a fire extinguisher, bawling his eyes out. And when he turned around to put out the fire, a peaceful protester came up behind him with a brick and smashed him over the back of the head, nearly killed him. And I'm thinking, how is that civil disobedience? That's destroying somebody's life and almost killing an innocent person.
That's mindless thuggery.
It is. It's mindless thuggery. And the reality is, I'm not saying that's BLM doing that or that's Antifa. The reality is that there's a lot of nefarious actors out there who ride on these
humanity.
Protests. Yeah, humans. We are shit. We're awful fucking animals. We're horrific people. And when people get that mob mentality, it just there's an anonymity in the mob. People do what comes natural to them, and we are an aggressive species. It's just how it is.
This shit is the reason aliens don't visit us.
Exactly. It's like if you look at it, if you were to come down to Earth right now as a non-human and look at what's going on, you're like, hold on a second. So there's two old guys arguing about over who gets to live in a particular house, and everybody's fucking killing each other over it. Are you kidding me? It makes no sense, man. What happened to America? I mean, America used to be whatever, America comes with all of its issues. We all know that. But America was always a beacon of hope and, not to sound too corny about it, but it was always a beacon of hope and progression and all of this stuff. That's why my people went there. That's why people from all over the world went there for a new life.
Yeah.
I wanted to move to America. I almost moved to South Carolina. I was really close. It was a toss-up between South Carolina and Australia, and we chose Australia because Mrs. Demon's an Aussie. And now I'm happy I did it, man. Like, I couldn't imagine living there right now. It'd be terrifying. But, it's just one of those things. Graham says, I'm sick of hearing Trump supporters talk about Antifa and then asking them what it means, and they don't even know. If Trump hadn't said that word, they'd know nothing about it. I'm not sure I'd agree quite with that because Antifa is all over YouTube and Twitter, and
Graham brought that up before, and apparently they've had some encounters with a bunch of people who don't actually know that Antifa is supposed to mean anti-fascist.
I'm sure. Like, I've heard a lot of people say Antifa are fascists. They're not. Right. They are not fascists. I get why people say that because of how they act. They're not fascists. They are authoritarians. A lot of them say they're anarchists. A lot of people say they're anarchists. They're not anarchists. They're authoritarians. Not all of them, obviously.
Now, ultimately, with all this stuff that you brought up, and being here in the States, especially in Texas, Texas is slowly descending back into the Wild West. It is insane now, but there have been other times in American history where things have been this bad. Race riot, during the civil rights movement, the race riots in Tulsa, the Tulsa massacre, the stuff that went down in Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia, and during the 60s, there was a lot of really, really horrific shit going on in the nation at that time, but we made it through, and it was better. It did get better than it was. It's still not where it should be, but there was improvement. Eventually, the violence got the right people's attention, and the right moves were made in that direction. Do you think it's possible? I know a lot of people here in America are so worn out by this, and everybody is so pessimistic. But is it? I still kind of have hope that we will get through this, and we will mark this time as a very tumultuous time, as a very, very bad time in America's history. But we could get through this and see, and see light on the other side of this as we look back and learn, hopefully.
Can I just address a comment in the comment section, just so I can elaborate on what I meant? So Salvatore says Antifa are authoritarians now, with a question mark at the end. If you were to leave political views aside, yes, absolutely, they're authoritarian. And this is coming from a friend of mine who is an absolute expert in political science and political psychology. He's also one of my professors. he's an expert on this stuff, and this guy is your quintessential lefty. You know, he's your typical, like, he's a total. Yeah. Anyway, he's a real lefty. You know, we always laugh about it. Whatever.
He's a soy boy cuck commie is what he is.
soy boy commie with his hemp clothes, and we give him a hard time for it. But here's the thing, right? He's a genuine expert on it, and he said, like, he hates the authoritarian right and all of this kind of stuff. If you know anything about politics at all or anything about sociology, it is very clear that Antifa, as in, when I say Antifa, I'm referring to the really extreme ones that go out there, and demand that people follow their beliefs and everything. That is authoritarianism. Whether or not you like it or whether or not you agree with them, that is authoritarianism. You see videos of people going out there forcing people to, agree with Antifa and everything. Forcing people to agree, all that does is it forces people to say what you want them to say. If somebody comes to me and let's say I'm gonna make it simple. If I'm a huge fan of the color yellow, everything I do is about yellow. I love yellow, and somebody goes, "No, green is better." I go, "No, yellow's better." And then they say, "You better believe green is better or we'll burn your fucking house down." So then you put up a sign in your window saying green is the best. That hasn't changed anything. All you've done is you've scared this person into agreeing with you, or not actually agreeing with you, just saying that they're agreeing with you. And then they're going to go and vote against you when the vote comes up, because nobody knows that, what you're voting for. And that is authoritarianism. It doesn't matter whether you agree with Antifa or what they stand for or not. It simply is authoritarian. When I'm talking about at the basal scale, it is authoritarianism. If the other side, if the far right were going out doing the exact same thing, that would also be authoritarianism.
Yes.
So it's got nothing to do with politics. It's just actions.
Yeah.
Just to clarify,
you're talking about tactics and behaviors, and I understand completely. And it's actually the problem I have with when people criticize Antifa. A typical response is, well, if you don't like Antifa, then you must be a fascist. No, that's a result of calling your organization the equivalent of the good guys.
Yeah,
I don't care what you call yourself. It has to do with how you act.
Exactly right.
Their cause is righteous. The way they're carrying it out, not so much.
I agree. It's like if you called your group the anti. Let's come up with what's a good name. The anti-sadness league, and they go out and they destroy everything, and then they say, "Do you agree with us?" And I say, "No." And then they say, "So you're pro-sadness?" No, I'm not. I love being happy, but I don't like what you're doing. Just because, as you absolutely rightly said, just because you call it anti-fascism, and then I say, "But I completely disagree with how you're doing this," that doesn't make me a fascist at all. My people, my family fought against fascism. They went to Spain during the Spanish Civil War, my great uncles and grandparents, and they fought fascism. And I grew up listening to those stories. I grew up speaking to people who were victims of fascism. One of my friend's grandfathers was in Belsen. So I know what fascism does. I'm under no illusion. So yeah, when people say, "Oh, you're a fascist if you don't support Antifa," it's like, no, fuck you. I have my own beliefs, and I don't agree with how these things have transpired. But then again, it's unregulated, so you can't blame the organization for everything that's happened. But at the same time, there has to be some bit of responsibility taken for what's actually going on. Right. Like, go out there and punch Nazis all day long. I'll fucking stand there with you and do the same thing. But going out and burning down some old man's restaurant just because he won't bend the knee, that's bullshit. I don't agree with that at all, man.
Now I just want to listen to that song, Nazi Punks Fuck Off.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been an interesting, healthy discussion that's meandered around several different topics. I think we've had a lot of fun. But I think we are approaching about a 90-minute kind of point here. Are we not?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll go around the table here and let's see. I'm trying to think of a clever question to ask.
I
Aimee Hogan, who's going to win the election?
I think
It's all on you, Aimee.
I know. Based on what my experiences, I've lived quite a while, so based on my experiences, mostly what I've seen is the incumbent is usually favored to win. So I have a feeling Trump is going to win.
Of course.
My thoughts on who I would like to see win notwithstanding, but I do think he's going to win.
I was just going to say, I'm going to ask everybody this, and I want the audience to understand. I'm not asking who they want to win. I'm asking who they think will.
Yeah.
Right. Based on my experiences, I think on what I've seen with incumbents, I think Trump is going to win.
Fair enough. Gary, IOW, you've been a little quiet for a while. You still with us? Who's going to win the election, Gary?
I don't think he's here.
I'm by me.
No, that answer is America will be destroyed before the election.
I'm telling you guys, giant meteor 2020. Let's make it happen.
I was just talking about this in the car with Mrs. Demon this morning. There actually is a meteor on the way.
Yeah,
that's the massive thing. If there is a calamity, whether it's Yellowstone blows or an asteroid hits, if there is a major calamity, Trump will take the election.
I'm still waiting for the damn frogs. I keep telling everybody that. We've got the plagues already. We just need some frogs now, okay? So I guess there were some cicadas that come out. So we need the frogs now. Yep.
If the calamity goes a certain way, Trump might win, but he'd end up like the president of the U.S. in Fallout. Like you're just you're president of a shithole now.
Or most likely like the president in Idiocracy.
Terry Crews.
Yes. Mountain Dew Camacho.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great movie. Oh boy. All right, Irish Demon. Who's going to win the election?
As I was saying, I do genuinely believe that Donald Trump will win. And again, that's not what I necessarily want or anything, but it's just the reality. But to just kind of segue from that very briefly, I would just say I wish people would be a little bit more chill when it comes to actually talking about these things.
Yes.
There's been a few cases, even in the last couple of days, where I'm not going to mention any names. This whole thing about the shooting in Kenosha, not the first shooting, but the second one, where I was like, can we just wait for the facts? That's all I'm going to say. Like one person earlier was like talking about that the 17-year-old or whatever, saying how he traveled interstate to go fight these people or whatever. Now, he shouldn't have been there. I won't get too much into it. But when they say things like that, it's a bit disingenuous. He traveled about 20 miles. He lives on the border and stuff. So I just wish people would be a little bit more intellectually honest, because this is vitally important. All of this stuff is incredibly important right now. And I think the lies, the half-truths being told by, both sides of the media and both sides of the political spectrum in the United States, it needs to calm down. If I come out and say, hold on a sec, if I question the narrative, that doesn't mean I'm a, red-blooded Trump supporter. It means I'm questioning stuff. We're all supposed to be free thinkers in these groups, in these channels. We've seen how flat earthers just take all the narrative in one go. We've seen how this works. It's the same with religion. We shouldn't fall into that trap. It should be okay for you as a non-Trump supporter to say, I actually agree with Trump on that thing, or I disagree with him on that thing, or I don't like Trump, but I also don't like Biden. Don't be afraid to just tell the truth. And if somebody goes, oh, you're a fucking racist, you're a racist fascist, just block them. They're not worth your time if they're not willing to have an open conversation with you. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Very well said. We should absolutely do a lot more to be patient with one another and just remember how important discourse is to civilization.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Jill
Help me look for those damn frogs.
Dale Warren, who's going to win the election?
For a little while there, I actually did think that Trump might have pulled it off, but I do actually think that Biden is going to take the election. The reason for that is because, and while I know that everybody's like, polling is shit, you shouldn't trust polling and like this, but if you look back to 2016, the polls did have Hillary ahead in the popular vote, but the electorate was always with Trump. And they were simply hoping that there would be enough push from the popular that it would influence the electorate, but unfortunately it did not. But the reality of it is, no Republican president has won an election or won a re-election without holding some key areas in the states. And one of those key areas is Florida. And another one was Texas. And Biden has led Trump consistently in Florida. And he recently just pulled ahead in Texas. And his lead is marginal in Texas, but his lead is growing very strongly in Florida, and that is because of who Floridians are. There's a lot of elderly, heavily invested individuals who live in Florida. It's a deep red state, but the problem is that it's with the level of retirement and the level of investment that comes out of Florida, with the stock market tanking the way it is because of Trump's COVID response. Because of the administration's COVID response, he's lost serious ground, and that gap between him and Biden is growing by the day in Florida. And if he doesn't have Florida, then he's not going. If he doesn't have Florida in the bag, then he will not win, because all of those people will simply see one thing, and that Trump lost us a shit ton of money, and we want that money back. So they're not looking to replace him because they're Democrat or Republican. They're looking to replace someone who's going to do something differently and get their investments back.
Interesting.
Because it all comes down to money in America.
Yep.
Fair enough. Very interesting. Tattie-Bogle, who's going to win the election?
Ultimately, the Scots. No, I don't know. Christ, I'm in a wee rain-swept and fucking windy island and the parked off the coast of fucking Europe somewhere. What the hell do I know about American politics? I'll probably postulate that the winner will be whoever Putin decides.
Oh.
Oh, damn.
Patty, you son of a bitch, you stole my joke.
Oh.
I apologise.
This whole thing was a big setup for his punchline, and you took it.
What can
I say?
I was going to say, who do I think's going to win? Vladimir Putin. And then I was going to try to get us to quickly end the stream at that.
You spent all day writing that joke. I hope you realize that.
Sorry,
Oh,
Kennedy.
that-
Sorry, Kennedy. There can be only one.
All right.
What can I say? I'm a prick. I enjoy it.
Booleanenator, who's going to win the election?
I would have to agree with JL on this, but not necessarily for the same reason, although those reasons are good and they will play into it. But also, there's this, black people are pissed off, right? Black people, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, black people are pissed off, right? So
Really? I can't.
So what happens when black people are pissed off? They vote. That's when they vote, right? And Trump trying to sabotage the U.S. postal system is an example of him doing something because he's scared, because we're going to have to do mail-in votes. We're going to have to find a system other than congregating in big giant groups to go to the polls spreading COVID, right? So trying to sabotage it means he's actually scared of the amount of people that are going to vote. And deep red states like Florida and Alabama might actually turn blue this year because enough black people are pissed off and vote.
Mm-hmm.
And
that goes into that is Kamala. The presence of Kamala as his VP will help to secure that. Not only the black vote, but the female vote as well.
It's a smart pick. It really is. People are. You could say what you want about the woman, but she has some cards she puts into it that just take the cake.
I spoke to a friend the other day. He lives in upstate New York. He's a black guy, and he was saying that you'd be surprised. A lot of black people don't like her. A lot because of her history, I guess. But it's going to be interesting to see how that side of the vote goes for sure.
The true winners are going to be anyone in comedy.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
when it comes to politics, comedians always win. As for myself, I'm going to say this: who's going to win the election? Kanye West.
Yeah.
Now there's your Mountain Dew Camacho right there. You know, and it was funny that you mentioned it because, and this goes back to the Twitter thing, and I was right. I actually got kicked off of Twitter. Well, I got one of my accounts because I have multiple accounts, but my account, my JL Warren account on Twitter, got perma-banned, like just nuked because I went after Kanye.
Wow. Really? Because Kanye West is so important.
Well, yeah, it pissed me off because the whole thing of him sticking his head up like a fucking diseased meerkat was is all that would seek to do is divide the vote, is split the vote, and it's so obnoxious. And a vote for Kanye would be a vote for Trump nonetheless.
Yeah, it would.
And but there's another thing, and I'll throw this out there. I know that we're pressed for time, and you're wanting to wrap, but I'll throw this out there. His wife, Kim Kardashian, is currently involved in basically she's trying to do this thing where she's pressing for clemency for death row inmates pretty much around the country, and trying to get them clemency or get their sentences reduced, get them off death row and stuff like that. And one of the individuals that she is trying to get off death row and seek clemency for is a murderer, and is actually the dude who murdered my wife's uncle.
Wow.
And it blew my mind because we don't live in Oklahoma. We're here in Texas, so this was Oklahoma news, and it was legit. It was an open shut case. He shot her uncle, stole his car. He was found with the car. He was found with the gun. It was obvious. It was just like, yeah, you did this. It's, and there are witnesses that saw you do it. It was done. And he's been on death row for quite a long time. And now Kim Kardashian is trying to get his death row conviction overturned and get him clemency and get him released. Because he's all out of appeals. He has no more appeals. He's speeding towards his final date. And Kim Kardashian made a big stink about this. And when my wife found out about it, it really upset her. And I was like, what? So I looked into it, and it really upset me. So, and then when Kanye was like, I'm going to be president, I'm like, fuck you, motherfucker. And I sent him a tweet saying, stop trying to divide the vote, you idiot, and tell your stupid bitch wife to stop trying to get clemency for this asshole who murdered my wife's uncle. I use all 140 characters. And 2 days later, I was straight nuked off of Twitter.
You know what? Like, I guess I get Twitter's logic, but come on. I don't. It's Kanye West. It's. I will say, I don't want to restart another discussion or anything, but you're talking about death row for a while, and something to me seems very silly about having death row be a thing, but pampering them for 15 years before you do the deal.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It was an argument, again, not to go off on a tangent here, but, I've spent a few years now working in the courts and studied law, and a lot of people say, why not just kill some of these guys and be over and done with it? It costs the taxpayers so much money to have them in prison. It costs, I think in the United States, it costs about $17 million to put somebody to death.
Really? With lethal injection?
With all of the red tape and all of the legal requirements and everything, it's on average $17 million to put somebody to death. Wow. It's interesting. That's a very tough question. That could be one for the Beardsman this weekend, actually, JL, whether or not the death penalty should exist or should be allowed, or what the options of it are, maybe.
I do believe it should, but I believe the method in which we do it and the method in which the process has become so muddied between so, and now prisoners have rights. Prisoners, they're so. I don't believe. Then you're getting into the whole thing of the rights of prisoners and the fact that our Constitution doesn't allow for prisoners of the state or prisoners of the government to have actual civil rights. It's ridiculous, and the waters have become so muddy. But when it comes to just the death penalty, yes, we should have capital punishment because there are specific individuals that should never ever be allowed to re-enter society. But we cannot allow them to also be a burden upon the system just because we decide to throw them in a hole. So that is where I stand, and that's why I don't. Texas is pretty fucking liberal when it comes to killing people. We run them through like we're having having a fire sale on these motherfuckers, and I think we need to be a bit more. We need to be a bit more conservative when it comes to putting people there, and once they're there, be extremely liberal in getting them through it and done.
Well, I think Ron White said it best about Texas. He says, most states are trying to abolish the death penalty. My state's putting in an express lane.
An express lane, yes.
That is the second time tonight someone stole my joke right before I said it. It's been my stance that while it's not a deterrent, capital punishment will never be a deterrent. Well, actually, technically, capital punishment the way it is in America will never be a deterrent. But if you were convicted by a jury of your peers, and the evidence was shown, and there is legitimately your appeals are going to fall on deaf ears anyway. The governor is not going to give you clemency. It doesn't matter if you found God or got your fucking PhD when you were in prison. It doesn't matter. You did this crime. You are guilty of it. Then be done with it. Don't sit here and draw it out just to make yourself look better of it. Be done with the individual. He can go make that, and that's it. And then the taxpayer doesn't have to pay millions upon millions of dollars in order to room and board this guy with his free cable TV and all of his goddamn privileges when that family gets to suffer for that, right,
because of the crime that they did. It needs to be a little bit more aggressive in getting it done. And I think because there's a whole thing, China is very, very rapid in theirs.
Yeah.
And they have 6 times our, and I know that they're a communist state. I know that the state is extremely powerful and they're tyrannical, and Xi Jinping is very tyrannical. I know that. But still, they have 6 times our population and 1/6 of our crime rate.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that we go fascist. Absolutely not. But I think that we could make some serious changes.
No, you absolutely make a good point. So, someone pointed out that in the chat a little while ago when we were talking about the cost of it. Someone said that's not quite the same as the cost of an execution in North Korea.
Yeah, that's just the cost of one anti-aircraft round, usually.
Yeah. Well,
true story. I mean, true story.
Or even just a bullet from a rifle, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But on that cheerful note,
I
know.
I don't normally drink very often, but this pub chat is going to make me start drinking heavily.
Oh no!
I'm going to say before we do close it out, does anybody have anything they want to shill out? Any last thing they want to mention?
I'm just trying to think what other jokes you're going to try and end with so I can nick them.
Just don't forget that we've got the Shills shows tomorrow, and this weekend we've got a whole bunch of great shows planned, and that's about it.
All right.
Just stay tuned, and thank you everybody for coming.
All right.
Yeah. If I could show my podcast, because
absolutely,
I'll make it quick. I have it pretty down. Thank you to everybody for having me on. This has been awesome. So cool to hang with Irish Demon as well. Aimee, Kennedy, Gary, Tattie, Boole, I know you're back there. Thanks everybody for having me out. I am JL Warren. You can also catch me on my channel, JL Warren, on YouTube, and I also have a podcast where I talk about horror movies all the time. It's called Week in Horror. I'm sure you've heard of it. You can check me out at weekinhorror.net. You can throw your email address in there for a chance at winning a horror mystery shirt every month. We do the drawing every month. Check me out, or you can contact me at weekinhorror@gmail.com. If you really, really like what we do over there, you can support me at patreon.com/weekinhorror. We have tiers for $1 a month, as low as $1 a month. Check out our Facebook and Twitter. We have our daily splatter if you'd like to know a little bit more about horror movies every single day right there in your feed. And of course, check out the YouTube channel, because I think we just crossed the 200 sub mark. We want to push. Obviously, we want to get monetized, but we're working our way there and kind of doing something completely different. And I hope that people, if you love movies, if you love scary movies, to definitely check us out. Other than that, thank you again so much. It's been an awesome, awesome night.
You're very welcome. I'm going to confess I didn't know about that podcast, but I'm going to go head over there right after the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Irish is following me on Twitter.
I sure am.
I just got that notification. Thank you.
I follow you everywhere.
All right. Well, with that, I think it's time for us all to call it a day. And I just got to say, la, 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 wait till I become president.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Good night,
You stole my
everybody.
joke.
That's going to be his campaign thing, his theme. You stole my joke.
Kevin Kennedy for president. You stole my joke.
Oh, yeah. That's never ended badly before.
It's a little on the nose. That's a little on the nose. Okay, you're putting the. Actually, is that jumping the shark? Dead Kennedy for president.
Oh no! End the stream before it gets terrible.
Good night, everybody. Good night.